Is it you? It's you?
He's out of here.
It's Hashem. He's out of here already. Okay.
I forget his name.
It's okay. Thank you. The subject I want to scan through in the Tanakh in Sefer Megillat Esther is a subject I heard a shur from Rabbi Kashtiel from the yeshiva in Eli, and certainly worthy of transferring to here. This may be a subject, Hagidula, greatness, and we can find it in the Megillah time and time again. And we want to try to define it. Of course, it comes from the word Gadol. And we're going to see many mentioning of it. For instance, in chapter 1, if you open up to the Megillah, where do we find the term Gadol, Gedula, and so on? First of all, in verse 5, who's invited? Adults and young people. Migadol v'ad katan. And where else do you see the word Gadol here in chapter 1? I say we're all quiet. Tov, you know what? At the rest of chapter 1, if the word doesn't appear, we see a great party, amazing banquet. For how many days? 7 days. Look at all the gold and silver and all the expensive, fine piece things that they have there. Verse 20, you said you saw? Okay, and then we hear the decree that's sent out that women must give, all types of women must give, older and younger. So we see in Perek Aleph, it's clear what an expansive party banquet is here. Skip to Perek Gimel, go to chapter 3, and we see that after the assassination attack was about to happen, Achashverosh breeds someone else to become a leader. Who is that? Haman. And it says in chapter 3, verse 1, Achara Dvaramela Gidal Amelech Achashverosh. He raised him up, he grew him up. Gidal from the word, of course, Gadol. Further, in chapter 6, skip to chapter 6. Someone can't fall asleep that night. King Achashverosh, he tried sleeping pills, that didn't help. He tried a coloring book, it didn't do anything. So he asked for, why don't you read me a book of history that's pretty boring? I'll fall asleep, and that'll be great. And then he finds out that there is a Jew called Mordechai. Of course, he's well known. There's a Gemara, there's a Rashi that brings it, that you know that he was the head of a legion for the Persian army. He was like a big division commander. And you know someone else was a big division commander? Haman. Oh, you read that Gemara? What? You heard in the shur? Who brought it? Okay. Gentlemen, when the king finds out that Mordechai saved his life, what does he ask his servant? Do you see it in verse Ma naseh gdula leMordechai? He asks, well, what was done for him? Do you see that? Which pasuk is that? Pasuk Gimel. Vayomer HaMelech, he asks the guy reading these events, Ma nasa yakar ugdula? What honor and greatness has been done to Mordechai? Again, verse 7, chapter 7 now, Perek Zayin. Find at this banquet or wine party that Esther, Haman, and Mordechai, Esther, Haman, and Achashverosh are the only 3 attendants. Where do we see something regarding Rav a lot? Something regarding the party here, Kiyad Melech. Do you see the term Kiyad Melech as well? I don't see it now. Maybe I overread it. I thought I saw here in chapter 7 the expression Malchut Rav Kiyad Melech. The kingdom was so great, like the hand of the king. So I don't see it right now. Let's go on. I want to look for another source. What about the gallows? Small gallows? Wow, something. And who wanted to hang who on that gallows? Right? Haman wanted to, right? Yeshem Eitz Gadol there, right? Eitz Gadol. And what about the end of the Megillah, when fame comes to Mordechai? When fame comes to Mordechai, in chapter 9, verse 4, Ki Gadol Mordechai beveit HaMelech. The greatness of Mordechai in the house of the king. And furthermore, Mamash at the conclusion of the Megillah in chapter 10, what are we told? It's verse 2. V'chol maset tokpo ugvurato.
The greatness of Mordechai.
The greatness, Uparshat Gedulat Mordechai. The greatness of Mordechai, and also to the Jewish people, Mordechai is considered Gadol La Yehudim, great for all the Jews. There's another expression somewhere in the middle about the amount of children and the quantity of children Haman and others had. Summary. The opening and the conclusion of the Megillah is dealing with greatness. The beginning of the Megillah is the greatness of the Gedula of the king Achashverosh, the banquet, the amount of people, the gold, the silver, the wine. The end of the Megillah, we talk about and learn about the greatness of Mordechai. Conclusion, apparently this could be a major subject in this Megillah. If the Gedula, the greatness, is discussed at the beginning, and the Gedula is discussed at the end, we're talking here about a fantastic subject, greatness. Okay, right now we've been dealing with greatness of Achashverosh, Haman, the family, even honor to Mordechai. But when you want to describe Hashem, does the term Gedula appear? Of course. We say it every day in the Psukei de Zimra, in the end before Yishtabach, from the book of Divrei Yamim, chapter 29. David has collected the congregation of Israel together. The Aron has been brought back to the city of David. He has been already storing gold and silver and monies in the national treasury for the building of the Beit HaMikdash. He decides to call a collection of people, and he issues a bracha. It's written in our Siddur in the Psukei de Zimra, Vayivarech David et Hashem. He blesses God in front of who? Le'einei kol hakal, in the eyes of the entire congregation. Vayomer David, what does he say? As it's brought in our Siddur from here, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokei Yisrael Avinu, me'olam, from this world, ve'ad olam, into the end of the next world. Lecha Hashem, God, you know what you have? Hagedula, v'gevura, v'tiferet, v'netzach v'yahod. God has the greatness, God has the strength, God has the splendor, the triumph and the glory. When we discuss Gedula in the Megillah, and we're talking about the greatness of Achashverosh, and then later the power of Haman, and now we talk about what the prophets write about a description of God, that God has Gedula. I once asked one of my students, really, do you want to be like Hashem? And he looked at me as if I just fell off the building or something. He says, how can I be like Hashem? No, you know what I mean. I asked him, do you know the attributes of God? And then he understood. And he answered me, I want to be like Hashem. In what way? All the time, 24/7, Hashem is giving. Hashem is giving. He's doing kindness all the time. So when we talk about the matter of Hashem's Gedula, His greatness, Hashem is flowing greatness to our world, to us. The fact that I can move my arms, move my cheek muscles, speak. The lungs are functioning, thank God. The digestive tract is functioning. The pancreas is working. Thank God. Your back is okay. You want to strengthen it, and the muscles also. Where do we go from here? We saw the term Gedula in the Megillah so many times. Greatness. We saw now regarding King David blessing God, that God has Gedula. Maybe by the study of the Megillah, it's going to sharpen the following question. What is Gedula? What is greatness? Is it the same? When we discuss the Gedula, the greatness of Achashverosh, and the Gedula of Hashem. This was the subject, I'm sure, that I heard from Rav Kashtiel in Eli. Many of us, and all of mankind, often have an instinct that they want to grow. They want to enlarge in themselves. They want to increase themselves. Inside the human psyche, the human body, there's a strong will and desire to add, to increase. Some people, it's only money. Other people, it's influence. Other people are looking for appreciation. Some people looking to widen their talent. Some people, right? These are terms and concepts that are applicable to man when they want to grow and add volume more and more and more. We can all safely say this description of greatness, of Gedula, is related to human beings, to Basar Vadam, unrelated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to ask Hashem, are you interested in having more money? So I'm not interested whatsoever. Are you interested in having, more talents? I have it all. He's not lacking anything. Hashem is complete. Hashem is perfect. You also got that answer from Hashem? I thought so. Now, so when we say Gedula regarding heaven, Gedula, greatness regarding God, we're talking together with His glory, we're talking that God is giving. God is bestowing kindness. So too in Tefillah, how do we praise Hashem in the opening bracha, in the Amidah? Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoteinu, Ha'el, Haga, Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanora Eloyom. All these terms are terms that God is always giving. He's all powerful to give. He's Gadol. He's not limited with anything. When we discuss our roots, and we go back to Avram Avinu, correct? We go back to Avram Avinu. Which attribute is usually noted for the greatness of Avram Avinu? Which attribute?
Generosity, hospitality, loving kindness.
Right, beautiful. Beautiful, chesed. There's even a term, is it King David in Psalms? Quote, Titein emet liYaakov, or chesed liAvram. Chesed is adjoined to Avram Avinu. Okay? Chesed liAvram, that's his midah. Therefore, we have two ways, in summary, to describe Gedula. How much I have, how much money I have, how much influence do I have, how much furniture, things that I have, things that I've taken. But there's another way to describe Gedula, and that is, how much am I giving? Like Hashem, doing chesed. And these are two different tendencies in the psyche of man. We know that God is the source of infinity. And His ability to give and give and give is unlimited. Okay? And He wants to do it. Man often is always thinking about I and myself and getting and absorbing. Okay? Like a fish. Fish is always, have you watched fish inside a fish pond? Always absorbing oxygen. They're not giving, always taking. Okay? by the way, the nature that God developed in mankind is that we mature and mature and mature. First, we don't have any intellectual ability other than taking, other than receiving. Okay? If you ever ask a child 4 years old, can you please give me a piece of your chocolate? What are you, nuts? He's not going to give you chocolate. He's not going to give from himself. Maybe, you educate him at the age of 7, 8, and 9. He's used to giving, especially when Purim time comes. Do you know what he wants to do? He wants to give mishloach manot to his friends, his classmates. They want to give. So that's the beginning of education, especially on the Purim holiday that children enjoy giving. So we see that Gedula is different by God, whereas by mankind, it's taking. Do you remember, or have you heard of in your great rabbis, that Avram Avinu is termed often Anak Sheba'anakim? I don't remember if it's a source in the Tanakh, please correct me, or it's in Chazal, but the term Anak, giant, Anak Sheba'anakim, the giant of giants. What is it referring to? His generosity. Why? Because the criteria for chesed is not to make an account. What am I getting out of this? Usually man makes an account. Will I be satisfied? Will I be increased? What am I getting out of this? I don't want to be taken advantage of. Is it worthwhile to do it? That's often what mankind makes cheshbonot. Avram Avinu was just the opposite. Avram Avinu wanted to be like Hashem, to give all the time, his energy, his faith, his teaching. Remember what he built towards Beersheva? Quote, it says, Vayita Avram Eshel Be'Beersheva. He built an Eshel. Some explain, Rashi brings an opinion there. Aleph, Shin, Lamed is the acronym for Aleph, Achila, Shin, Shtia, Lamed, Lina. Eating, drinking, and lodging. A motel. He built a motel. People passing on road number 60, Chevron, Beersheva, okay? They need a place for what? For to lodge, to eat and drink. And then he would teach them how to say Birchat HaMazon, Midrash. How to say thank you for the chesed to give him to me. So therefore we can say, when we're dealing with Hashem, and we're dealing with the stars of Hashem like Avram Avinu, Gedula is interpreted as chesed without accounts. Chesed without stopping. Just like God. What is God doing all the time? Notein lechem lechol basar ki leolam chazdo. Notein lechem. King David praises God, notein lechem. Which tense? Past, present, or future? Notein. Huh? Notein. Present. God is giving. Why is it present? Because he's giving all the time. Doesn't stop. Always giving. Just like Yisrael brings me water all the day, every day. Brings me water. Okay? Notein lechem lechol basar. Why is he notein lechem lechol basar? Ki, because, or since, leolam chazdo. God's chesed is for eternity, is forever. It's always having an effect on us. He's always giving to us. Now, let's go back to the Megillah of Esther. After seeing all these terms, before some of you walked in, we traced so many times the word Gedula or Gidal appears so many times. The Megillah opens up with the wealth, the banquet, the amount of people, the quantity of days. I mean, everything is in volume at the beginning of the Megillah. But what happens after he takes the stupid advice and kills his wife? Achashverosh is without a house, but without a bayit. When we say bayit, we mean a wife. In other words, here's the downfall. If people don't know how to use their wealth in the right way, here he accumulates so much wealth, it's leading to his fall. Why? He has what psychologists call shigaon hagadlut, craziness of greatness. Shigaon hagadlut. His material affluence inside the palace of the king, okay, You remember why he became king? The historical background you're probably learning with Rav Gilad is because he conquered so many countries. He was so powerful. And he was able to move his palace from where the former palace was during the Babylonian Empire, and he does it in Shushan. He has tremendous wealth. He's conquered all this wealth. However, his bayit, his wife, it's falling apart. It's crumbling. His wife, he listens to the stupid advice and has her killed. Of course, under the table and over the table, who's working behind the scenes? Hashem is. That before we get in trouble and anti-Semitism spreads to proclaim a Holocaust against the Jewish people, we have a little lady inside the king's palace. A Jewish lady. What? A Jewish lady inside the palace? Quote, the Gemara says, Hashem makdim trufa lemaka. What does God precede before we could be potentially hit? The medicine. He creates the medicine. Who's the medicine? Esther HaMelkah. So Achashverosh wants all the affluence, all the gedula of the world, but in the end, his house is empty. No wife. So we can learn clearly a lesson that if your gedula is crooked, if your greatness is only looking for material affluence and to show off and show power, in the end, what's going to happen? Terrible things. And as we see, this gedula of the king, look in chapter 2 look at his terrible greatness. When he's looking for a queen, and he answered the advice of his assistants, look at Perek Bet, Pasuk Gimel. V'yafked HaMelech Pekidim, his assistants say, well, you should appoint appointees, ministers, B'chol Medinot Malchuto. How many Medinot are there? 127. And what should you do there in each state? V'kbitzu et kol nara betula. Every virgin young girl, Tovat Mareh, good looking, collect them to Shushan HaBira, El Beit HaNashim, and so on and so forth. His greatness. He orders, accepts the order, go collect from 127 countries. Every virgin, beautiful looking girl. Crazy. You see what's going on? And they're really going to be collected there. Now, imagine the process of choosing a queen. This happens in his third year. This event of killing his wife, the queen, Vashti, happens in his third year of his kingdom. When is Esther chosen? How long is this process of greatness, of being with every young girl there? In the 7th year of his kingdom, Esther is now the queen. That means 4 years. Every young girl, the guy in charge, hey guy, what do you want, sweetie? You want to go to this mall? Choose every lovely dress, every fragrance, every cream you want. Here's a check. Every girl goes to the biggest malls here in the Persian Empire, 127 states. They buy anything and everything, whatever they want, in order to make themselves better candidates for what? The craziness of the king, of his greatness. 4 years. The checkbook is open. The bank account is there. And how long? An entire year. She'll spend with fragrances and all these, an entire year. She'll be soaking in all these oils to make her best for the king. Shigaon, commonly called in Southeast Asia, Mishigane. What did you call me? No. Not me. Okay, fine. Mishigane. Do you understand what's happening here? Gentlemen, opposite this craziness stands a very special family. Find this family, please, in Perek Bet, chapter 2, verse 5. In contrast to this crazy family, the crazy greatness of Achashverosh, stands a very interesting family which is so different. Ish Yehudi, Haya b'Shushana Bira, Ushmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shemi ben Kish Ish Mini Asher Glam Yerushalayim. He was exiled. Ima Gola Shagolatai, with the king Yechonia Melech Yehuda, Asher Glam Nebuchadnezzar ben Lavel. And what are we told about this guy Mordechai? Vayi Omein et Hadassah. He Esther Batodo. Ki ein la'av va'em. Mordechai adopts a family member. She's an orphan. No mother, no father. That's what we're told. Esther grows up in a house where the main attribute is chesed. Imagine. Adopting, feeding her, clothing her, giving her love and tender care. Years later, she grows up. Mordechai didn't want to offer her to be a queen, but it's very hard in Shushan to hide the girls. Maybe more in the distant countries, you can hide them. Here it's hard to hide. He tried to hide her, but didn't help. Why? Vatila kach Esther. She was taken. In other words, would you like to come? They asked Esther. And she said, no. Wouldn't you like to be, please, the queen of this country? No. Guards, take her away. She's taken by force. Taken by force. She arrives to the dressing rooms, the waiting rooms with all the girls, and she is different than everyone else. She's not at all interested in receiving. She grew up in a house totally filled up with what? With chesed. Okay? She saw in her life by Mordechai. Of course, if we go according to Chazal, that she was married by Mordechai, but right now I'm talking about Pshat, that she was adopted. She saw all her life until now in the house of Mordechai, giving. Now, Haggai comes to her and says, what would you like to have in order to make yourself more pretty and more fragrances? Nothing. What? Every girl is asking for an open check to buy this and buy that and creams and fragrances and their skins and all that. Why? It's something in principle. Rav Kashtiel explained. She's a girl, a woman, that grew up with giving and not taking. And therefore she has no interest. As you see here, in verse, would it be 15? Okay. Pasuk 15, Tedvav in chapter 2. Do you see it, gentlemen? Uvagia tor Esther bat Avichail dod Mordechai. Her turn, she's up. Her number 764. Please come towards the king's palace. But first she's interviewed by her guy. Right? Lo biksha davar. She didn't ask for anything. Nothing. He probably can't believe what's going on here. Okay? She does not ask for anything. Why? Because she's adopted by a man of chesed, and that's what she saw now. She doesn't want to take anything. She wants only to do chesed and not accept anything. Now, when the king sees her, okay, verse 17, please. Vayehav hamelech et Esther mikol anashim vatisachein vachesed lefanav mikol habetulot. Which attributes? What is in the eyes of Achashverosh? What does he notice? Two things, chen and chesed. She has this special inner beauty without the fragrances, without all the lovely Saks Fifth Avenue dresses and wardrobes and Buckingham Palaces, wardrobes, whatever. Harrods. Okay. What finds favor in the eye. The chen, this inner beauty, and the chesed. Did you notice that? What's written here? In other words, gold and silver, diamond rings, charms, bracelets, she's not wearing. She's not here to take anything. Okay? This is a different greatness. Achashverosh sees the chesed by Esther. In other words, this is something revolutionary. Until now, Gedula by Achashverosh is numbers, money, wealth, gold and silver, fame, influence, and so on and so forth. How much do I have? But not how much I'm going to give. And here, a different thing. He sees in her chesed. She has kindness. How? It's not clear from the Megillah. At least to me, it's not clear. But it's clear that she didn't ask for anything. And people see on her that she's the daughter of Mordechai. And he's the man of chesed. Okay? He's the man of chesed. And now, what does the king do in her honor? Pasuk Yudchet, verse 18. Vayas amelech mishteh gadol. He makes a tremendous banquet for his ministers and all his servants. And it's called Mishteh Esther. Interesting. Is this like the banquet at the beginning of the book of Esther, Megillat Esther? Something happened. He made a mishteh, wine and cheese party, something like that, something modest, something great, not something great, different. Why? It's for Esther. She's different than everyone else. Okay? Now, when we come to the villain of this of Megillat Esther, and we talk about Mr. Haman, boo, and here, what? Boo. Boo, there we go. Okay? And some explain, I think it's the Malbim that explains, when Haman was raised up to be minister number 1, in light of the fact that there was almost a successful assassination, Achashverosh, according to his security people, say, I can't be making public appearances. I need someone else in my place. And that's where Haman is. Gidal HaMelech, the word Gadol. He raises him up. He's going to be making all public appearances instead of and representing the king. Okay? Everyone is even ordered what? To bow down to him. This quantity of respect has to be given. This Gedulah is given to Haman. Now, you all know that because of one Jew that didn't bow down to him, this anti-Semite, this Nazi, says all Jews have to die. Only because of one Jew. Am I misrepresenting a fact here in the Megillah?
No.
Only because of one Jew. Imagine. He decides to draw a lot. Okay? To draw a lot. Do you remember which month does he draw the lots? To choose which month and day shall be the day of doomsday for the Jewish people. Which month? Look at Perek Gimel, Pasuk Zayin. You were very close. Right? I'm reading it in Hebrew, of course. You get another 2 sneezes for the same price. B'chodesh harishon hu chodesh Nisan. You see, chapter 3, verse 7. B'chodesh harishon, the first month, hu chodesh Nisan. When? B'shnat 12 lamelech Achashverosh. Ever since Mrs. Esther has been the queen, if we said she entered into the kingdom in his 7th year of his kingdom, and now we're talking about year number 12, that means 5 years have passed ever since she is the queen. What does this villain do? He peel poor. He draws a lot. Hu agoral. Lifnei Aman, miyom liyom, michodesh lechodesh, 12 uchodesh Adar. So here it is, the first month, the month of Nisan. What does that represent for the Jewish people? The month of Nisan. Freedom. Did we make our own freedom?
God gave it to us.
Shall we call this month the month of the chesed of God? God did chesed with us. He showed his love to us. He chose us and took us out of Mitzrayim. Okay? So the choice of Am Yisrael in the month of Nisan, bad luck for Mr. Haman. He's choosing his lot in the month of chesed for the Jewish people. That's the greatness of God. He wants to do chesed to the Jewish people. And please tell me alongside the idea of the month of chesed, when was the hard time he couldn't fall? He was very shaky in his sleep. Turn to chapter 6. When did that happen? Balayla hahu. God willing, next Shabbat when we do some learning of the Megillah on Shabbat Zachor, we're going to learn a famous piece of Midrash. Balayla hu, that night, that is the night of the Seder. The night of the Seder, of course, is in which month? Nisan. Leil HaSeder. Leil HaPesach. And the king asks, what honor and Gedulah was given to Mordechai. In the month of Nisan, he asked his servants, what greatness was given to Mordechai? Because Mordechai did chesed with the king. He saved his life. Remember, he gave the inside information about Bigtan and Teresh that wanted to assassinate the king. And what does he find out?
They didn't do nothing for
Mordechai, didn't you ask for raising your salary? What? Did you ask for 2 days off a week for the first few months? Because what about some social benefits? Fringe benefits? Nothing. Mordechai is the opposite of taking. Mordechai is the type A case of giving. He's a man of chesed. He did never ask anything. He's the opposite of everyone else. He's not looking to get, he's always looking to give. He's not looking for honor and not a raise in salary. What makes us happy when we get towards the end of the Megillah? We see the greatness of Mordechai. What makes him so great? Look at the end, please, of the Megillah, and we see some attributes of Mordechai Yehudi. It says in the last pasuk, Ki Mordechai Yehudi Mishneh LaMelech Achashverosh is number 2. V'gadol HaYehudim. How is his greatness? Ratzui L'rov Achav. He's desirable to most of his brothers. Doresh Tov La'amo. He's always asking for goodness for everyone else. How are you? Can I help you? What's going on? So Gedulah, for us, for the Jewish people, is not like the Gedulah of Achashverosh. Here, Gedulah is making peace. What can I do for you? Send my regards. Some benevolence that I can perhaps do for you and others. That's right. We, Am Yisrael, we want to be Gedolim. But in what manner do we want to be Gedolim? To give, to do chesed without making accounts. You remember the famous expression about the beginning of Adar. What does it say? What are the words? Misha. I didn't ask you to sing it. Just tell me the statement, sir.
Misha.
Micha's putting on a stage by thinking the words are Misha. But let's say the word itself. Okay. Misha nichnas Adar. Misha nichnas. That's one word. One marbim b'simcha. Right? Did you really think that the word is Misha? Tell the truth. You're the first one in my career. That's very unique. I want to give you an award. Would you please give him the pink elephant award? That's a great award. That's a great thing. Wow. Mishenichnas Adar Marvim B'Simcha. That's fantastic. What is the meaning of Marbim L'Simcha? My question is this, as Rav Kashtiel pointed out. Lemi. To who are we marbeh? Increasing. Rov. Marbeh from the word rov. Harbe. Gadol. Okay? What does it mean, marbim b'simcha? Is it we're producing more simcha for me? Then maybe I need to order this, order that, a nice jacket, a nice, some good food, some good wine, maybe make me happy. But he says, Rav Kashtil, that's not the pshat, that marbim simcha for me. He says marbim from the word gedula, a lot, greatness. Simcha for who? For others. In other words, we want to be like Hashem. Do you think that Hashem is Hashem marbes simcha? Of course he's doing a lot of simcha. Do you think he's doing it for himself? No, he doesn't change. There's nothing changing in God. So who is God marbes simcha for? For us, obviously. For us. So that's what states in, I think in Psalms, Yismach Hashem b'ma'asav, God will be rejoicing in his creations. In other words, God is making his world happy by doing things for us. What do? We want to be like Hashem. We enter now into the month of Adar by doing chesed. And all of these great events are happening in the month of Nisan. The redemption is happening in the month of Nisan. In spite of the lottery, he can't sleep. It's happening on the Seder night. Therefore, when we have a leap year, we have Adar Aleph and Adar Bet, what is the explanation Chazal gave to tell us that we only celebrate in the second one? We have to connect, to juxtapose the Geula of Purim to the Geula of Geulat Mitzrayim. That's to be connected. All these events are happening in Nisan, the events of Purim. And we said Nisan is the month of God's chesed to the Jewish people. Therefore, not by mere incident did they enact to give mishloch manot, foods to a friend. Matanot levyanim, mishteh v'simcha. That's what the psak is in halacha, right? 2 evyonim, not one. One is not enough. 2 poor people. And some poskim say that right after you hear the Megillah, you do the mitzvah of giving gifts to the poor. Now, there are a lot of different types of poor people. There are poor people financially. There are poor people, Ken. And likrat sof hashiur. Ken. I thought she was going to tell me if she's here or not. Okay. Evyonim, there are different types of poor people. There are poor people in their mind. There are poor people in their way of life. There are poor people that no one relates to them. There are poor people, all different types. But what is the uniqueness of the Jewish people? Anyone that lends out his hand, we have to give. And there's one special way of giving. That's coming now to the end of the shur today. And that is through tefillah. We have the ability, we have the metaphysical formula how to pray. And unlike Achashverosh, that was limited, he conquered 127 states. He took from the people their wealth, their greatness, and built this gigantic empire. We have the ability in our prayer, especially on Purim, it can affect millions of Jewish people. Millions. Over the scan of the gamut of hundreds of countries, more than Achashverosh. Tefillah, connecting to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, who is the Redeemer, who's the one that redeemed us from Mitzrayim and redeemed us from this Holocaust. Our tefillah, we can give, we can uplift, we can connect to all our nation, all our Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz, above above the Antarctica, underneath, everywhere and everywhere there are Jews, because that day was great. On Purim, when she was in the Megillah, when she went in, uncalled, into the courtyard of the king, it says that with 3 days of fasting. 3 days.
3 days, 3 nights.
Rav David Valley, one of the Talmidim of the Ramchal, he writes that it was 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days and 3 nights, 72 hours. The gematria of Chesed, which is 72. The gematria. And what were we doing there? Quote, Divrei tzomot v'za'akatam. The words, the decrees of their fast days, and they're crying out. We prayed and prayed and prayed. So we find out that one of the major themes of Purim is our ability to pray and bring geula. The fuel behind Esther was the prayer of the Jewish people those 3 days, 3 days of Pesach. So here we see, we now have a great definition. Indifference to the gedula of Achashverosh, which is financial gedula, craziness of great things in power, which led to his fall, to Achashverosh and Haman. Here we have the gedula of Mordechai and Esther, giving. Gedula is the gedula of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, giving. And that's the uniqueness of the Jewish people. We care. We give our time. We give our energy. We give our attention. How are you feeling today? I didn't see you today. How are you feeling? Someone, he told me that someone wrote him a little short note that someone was concerned. Isn't that great? I'm proud of that guy. Fantastic. That's what we have to do. Our concern for all the Jewish people brings the Gula. Continue the next time, Yezrat Hashem.